Hey everybody, welcome to Ready Set Geek. As promised, we have got a dark and detailed review of Justice League. I am here with John Engel, one of my first contestants, the head of New Dimension Comics. John, I want to get this out of the way really quick because we got our initial reactions from a couple of people that were at the screening with us. Thank you very much for letting me go.
No problem.
1 out of 10.
4.5.
4.5. Okay, my official review is a 6 out of 10. Now, let's get into it. We're going to keep this spoiler-free adjacent. So we know that you're going to go see it. If you're watching this channel, you're going to go see the movie.
Right.
So
nerds are nerds. We know how you are.
Either watch it before or watch it afterwards. It's at your own discretion. But we're going to try to keep this as clean as possible. Let's talk characters.
Okay.
Because this was, a flashbang of we're going to get everybody together. There's very little build to this. You see the DC credits, and then immediately you are thrown into this world.
Yep.
It sort of has like a Spider-Man Homecoming. He goes, you were bit by a spider? Yeah. You were struck by lightning? Well, yeah.
Yeah. That's basically
right.
It.
So they expect you to know the backstories. They expect you to be invested in these characters right from the offset. Were you invested in these characters?
Yes and no. I got invested into Cyborg.
Mm-hmm.
I thought they did really well developing him in this movie with everything that they've done with him. And I was already invested in Wonder Woman.
It's amazing what happens when you give somebody a solo movie.
Right,
and bring them in.
yeah.
I wonder who would have thought of that.
Superman, there really wasn't enough to reinvest into.
Yeah.
Which was a little sad. And Batman, to me, they really changed how he was from Batman Superman, and I don't actually like the direction they went with him.
Okay.
Because they made him way, way lighthearted compared to the dark and brooding that we saw in Batman Superman. While, yes, he's like older and he's like they keep mentioning that he's been Batman for 20 years.
Yeah.
So they kind of are like, he's old, get it. Like,
right.
he's old.
Yeah.
And it's like, we get it. It's cool. But, like, they made him jokey. It was very weird. They made him the butt of some
not
jokes.
like Tony Stark, quippy,
No,
glib.
like
It's not Marvel jokey. But
it's more like a couple one-liners here
they
and there.
They played him for laughs a lot.
Yeah, and there's a scene where everybody else rushes to this thing and he's running out of breath because he's human.
Right.
And he's like, crap. And then there's another scene where they're fighting everything. And he's like, I need to get into my giant mech because if I don't, I'm going to die.
Right.
And I'm useless unless I'm in that thing. So they really played on the fact that he was human and not at the level of these guys, which I guess really does two things. One, it hits that part of me that's like, you're using him as a bit of a joke. I don't really like that. But the other thing is like, you're showing the one dude who's just a dude who will step up and join the team and try to lead it, but I never got the leader vibe from him.
No, but they kind of made a plot point out of that.
Right. Wonder Woman, I felt, was way more of a leader.
And that was her character arc.
Yeah.
Was him saying, I can't be the one to do this.
Right.
So one of the things I liked about the characters, I will say that, and we just actually finished recording a Toddcast for New Dimension Comics, so we just talked about a lot of these things. And I'm going to repeat almost verbatim what I said. There was parts of these characters worked really, really well, and I almost take it back to when they rebooted the Ninja Turtles movie, and all four of the Turtles are in the elevator, and they're doing the Wu-Tang. Mm-hmm. That's how a lot of these characters felt. When you saw that, you were like, yeah, that's them. That's the characters.
Yep, there's the Turtles.
There were times in this movie where you're like, okay, that's the team. Yep. They're coming together.
Right.
I get it.
Or you're like, all right, there's Flash. That's
Flash.
the
Flash that I need.
Right.
That's the Aquaman that we need for this universe. And when they started to come together in that last third of the movie, it worked. Mm-hmm. It did work. All of the characters had a through line. The movie had a through line. You got to that point, and it paid off. It actually does pay off.
Yeah, I definitely think that it eventually worked, but it was a very long road to get there in the movie.
And it's funny because Warner Brothers was very hard on the, okay, Batman vs. Superman was bloated and Man of Steel was bloated. So we're going to put a hard 2-hour time stamp on this. And it needed more time. It really needed a little bit more time because a lot of the scenes felt very vignette-y. It was, okay, we got to get through to this, to get through to this, to get through to this, as opposed to it being like a consistent storytelling.
And in the same right, it forced it to be a little dry at points. And I think that's why my perspective was a little lower than yours, because like I felt very dry at certain points, and I was like, okay, like this scene really either didn't need to be there, or they could have done so much more with that scene. It was basically them just going through the motions and not really doing what they needed to do. So,
what was your real high point for the film?
That's a good question. I think mine was probably, like the Amazon fight scene was pretty awesome.
Yeah.
When Superman shows up and just totally beats face was pretty awesome.
Right.
And other than that, like, I don't really know. Like, it really
everything kind of just
very
felt tepid
hard
for you.
Yeah, it really was hard to pick that one great thing. Actually, you know what it was? It was the cut scene, the Flash Superman race cut scene, because I was like, that is how that would have went down.
So we talked about it a little bit in the review thing, but again, DC has now thrown out we don't do post-credit scenes. Our movie, so there's two of them. There's one in the middle of the credits and there's one at the very end. So there's your little short out for that. I really felt like the last third of the movie made me feel better about where DC was going.
Right.
Now that said, it's centered around one of the low points of the entire movie, which was Steppenwolf, the villain.
Oh.
Which was yikes. Like,
there was no development of the character. They did a short flashback to when he was here last. And
that flashback was cool, but
the flashback was really cool.
It was all, Snyder CGI.
It was, and it was so hard to get on board with his reason for wanting to be there. His whole mission of trying to catch.
He was a MacGuffin. He was a MacGuffin to bring the team together. That was
he really was. Like, there was no real, like, he really didn't have a lot of development. It was very much so like Enchantress, I thought.
I give Enchantress more credit than I give Steppenwolf, and that says a lot. That's not a boon. This was like if they made the villain Enchantress's CGI Egyptian brother thing.
Right.
And that was who they had to fight the entire time.
They
kind of looked alike too.
It's true. But like the point of just taking it as just Enchantress, right?
Right.
And not as her counterpart where she's human, the person she's, haunting. It very much so is like that. It the rave dancing Enchantress was pretty much it. Because it was like, hey, I'm going to be over here doing this thing, casting this big spell. All right, cool. We're going to become a team over here.
Yeah.
It really wasn't like, we need to do this. And another great example was the reboot of Ghostbusters. Like, using, what's his name, who was trying to bring
Hemsworth,
No. The guy that gets haunted by Helmsworth.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
okay,
the actual villain.
Right.
That guy is just like, I'm doing this thing in the background over here.
Right.
And then they slowly become a team later, and some of those moments were jarring, and the same happened here.
Yeah.
But it was...
Well, that's the problem when you have a MacGuffin-type villain. It's just, you got to get to point A to point B, and then point C, you just have to assume all of these things are happening. You get little scenes. The Marvel equivalent is Malekith from Thor 2: The Dark World. It really... I almost made the joke, and it was like, wow, I can't believe they got Christopher Ecclesian back to play another villain. I think one of the things I can compare the entirety of this movie to was the third act of Wonder Woman.
Yeah.
Where it was very CGI.
Yep.
not great CGI.
No, definitely not.
I think that's one of the things that people are going to be the most surprised
That
about.
was definitely one of my biggest pet peeves was how much CGI and how not great it was.
It didn't.
It
What did
was-
you were saying? It was.
I felt like I watched someone play Injustice for 2 hours.
Yeah.
Because it was like PS2, like
Not good.
bad graphics
Yeah.
the whole time. Like Hulk 1 had better graphics. Like
The Ang Lee.
Like the Ang Lee Hulk had better graphics.
Yeah.
So, but I think that's
Take
just
that
DC.
gaseous cloud, Nick Nolte.
I think that's just DC's movies in general don't have good CGI in general.
I wish that they could.
Although Man of
figure
Steel
this
had
out, because
okay
they should
CGI
be working.
until the fight scene
Yeah.
at the end. So
I know that they don't have like ILM, but for God's
Right.
sakes, call Weta and say, "Help us, please." How do you feel about DC going forward?
Well, as we kind of talked, like I felt that if they would have gotten off to a better start with the Dark Universe, it would have been okay. But I don't think they've ever 100% set what they actually are trying to do in motion the right way.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I don't think going so as lighthearted and joke-filled as they did in this movie was the right move for the tone of the movie. But I feel that they're on the right path. They just need to get there faster,
Right.
Because we all want them to succeed.
Yeah.
None of us want to go into these and go, "Oh, look at this piece of crap."
Right.
You know,
It's
we all
interesting
want-
because
yeah.
they set up what looks like is going to be happening in Justice League 2 with one of the end credits, and it's not going where you think it's going, which was surprising.
Yeah.
I don't expect Whedon to do Justice League 2.
I don't either.
I think he wants to go back and do Batgirl and the things that he actually signed up for.
Yep.
This was more of a favor to Jeff Johns and to Zack Snyder personally.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't be surprised if they back the truck up to Patty Jenkins and say, please help us.
Here's a ton of money.
Yeah.
Fix this, please. Yeah.
Obviously, it's not going to be Brett Ratner.
That's true.
But overall, like I said, I give it a 6. John, you were a little bit...
I said 4.5. I had fun. It was entertaining, but the CGI really, for the budget this movie had,
That's
it
really shocking. Like even
it really hurt.
there was the big
my
to-do
vibe.
about Henry Cavill's mustache.
Mustache? Yeah.
And you actually see where they CGI'd that mustache off. Like,
And it's not good.
no, I compared
really-
it to like when you're on Tinder and you see a girl who obviously photoshopped her ass to be nicer. You're like,
Yeah.
why is that door frame so bent? I don't think it's supposed to go that way.
Right? It was just very off-putting because it made certain scenes to me feel very fake. Like, feel fake.
Yeah.
You know, I'm like, I obviously know it's CGI, but I don't want to know that it's CGI. I don't really want to know that it's fake. I don't want it to feel fake.
Right.
And that's the problem.
Yeah.
So-
And there was one part in this movie, and I won't get into too much, but where I came out of Man of Steel and that last fight felt so inherently wrong to me.
Yeah.
Of just the mass destruction, where everybody felt. I'm curious to see, there was a scene in the middle, and it's a pivotal scene, where it felt so dark and so macabre and just wrong. And this is coming from where Resurrection is a comic book staple, and the... I guess I'm giving it away. The Superman Resurrection, even in the comics, is like so comic booky. No, he was in a Kryptonian stasis, and like the robots were actually helping heal him, and he was like in a little coma, and that worked better than what they did. What they did felt messed up, like Buffy season 6 messed up.
It felt very much so like they just forced these experiences to make the team do stuff as a team.
But it
was just so hard to watch some of it.
Yeah.
It was like
you know what we should have
so you happen to actually need all 5 of these dudes to do this one thing.
But beyond that, it was let's take these mythological creatures, these standards of heroism, and hey, we're gonna go grave digging.
Yeah.
And it was whoa.
You know what I found really funny was that it was that Batman wasn't grave digging and he's the human on the team.
Right.
It was Flash who was just doing it at a normal pace.
Right.
And he makes jokes about it, which made it worse.
Yeah.
And then Cyborg is the other guy doing it. And I'm like, where the hell are Wonder Woman and Batman? They're like, we're the leaders.
Yeah.
Nope.
We don't soil our hands with soil.
We're out trying to get Aquaman to come back out of the water. Come on, fish boy. Come on.
I liked the actors. I liked Ray Fisher as Cyborg. I liked his character arc. I liked Ezra Allen as Ezra Miller.
Yeah, he was okay. He borderline annoyed me, but
he's a Wally West version of Barry Allen for like deep nerd cuts.
Yeah.
Momoa worked because he's Momoa, and they just let him be. You called him Pantera, Cowboy from Hell, Atlantean.
It's like he was like, I grew up listening to Pantera.
But the thing that I think I liked and I'm most optimistic about is that Superman at the end of the movie felt like we're getting Superman, which would be awesome. Mm-hmm. If I had to sit through that entire thing to start getting a Superman that I want to see on screen, it's worth it for me.
I felt that too, I guess.
I think my 6 comes from my optimism of where this could be going.
I definitely feel that they finally are getting to that point of where he needs to be. And I felt they took steps in Batman Superman, but then it was wrecked by that whole fight scene at the end.
Yeah.
Because it was, I will go on trial. I will do this thing. I will not just be like, screw you guys, I'm a god, whatever. Yeah. And it gave him a lot more humanity in that movie. But then it was, Martha!
Yeah. Just as a frame of reference, and we're going to be wrapping things up, where did you give on that scale of 1 to 10 Batman vs. Superman?
Like a 3.5.
Okay, so this was just a step up.
It was a step up. It was definitely
I'm
the right direction.
I'm right where you were.
Yeah.
I give that movie a 3 out of 10. I give the Ultimate Cut a 5 out of 10.
Yeah. So I guess if I watch the Ultimate Cut, it might be on par with Justice League.
Yeah, you definitely get the character motivations more, and Lex Luthor's plan isn't as like batshit crazy. It actually shows him to be quite brilliant.
That's cool.
And they're going to have an extended version of this, I'm sure. I wish that's what had been released in the theater because it felt rushed at times.
Weirdly, I would like to see what the Zack Snyder only cut looked like.
I think we saw it, and I was done by midway through the film. If it was like that scene took me out of the whole movie. And then I had to get brought back in after that. And they did a good job bringing me back in.
I thought about this in between the podcast and this.
The one podcast
and the next one. We talked about the boom tubes and how you were disappointed in the boom tubes and how Whedon went and did 2 weeks getting that one sound right.
That clang.
I'm wondering if Snyder had already decided that's how he wanted that. And then Whedon was like, can I change this? And he was like, no, don't worry about that.
Right,
I need you to do these other bigger things.
Right. I need you to make all of my characters likable, please. If you could do that, it'd be great. And he did. He did.
It was definitely not as bad as I thought it was going to be going into it.
Yeah, and I think that's going to be what you're hearing from a lot of the reviews. Obviously not on Rotten Tomatoes right now because there's still an embargo. But it's not what people think where they're because Rotten Tomatoes isn't putting out the aggregated score.
Oh, really?
But it's because they're using it as a platform for one of their new shows to come out.
Oh.
And then they're going to debut it for that.
Oh, okay.
So it's a publicity move by Rotten Tomatoes. It's not holding back to...
But it's weird. I looked on IMDb, and their review was I think it was around a 6.
Yeah.
And if you click through them, it's really crazy because it's either 1s or 2s or 9s and 10s.
Well, welcome to...
Yeah, it's very much so the opposite ends of the spectrum. And
even our reaction video.
I was going to say, we went with 10 of our friends, and it was across the board. It was very, no one was in the middle going, it was okay.
I think I'm the most middle person.
Yeah, you and I are probably that guy.
Right.
Everybody else was either they loved it or they hated it, or the guys who hated it tried to validate good points in it.
Right.
And the guys who loved it tried to validate the fact that it's just a comic book movie and we should take it for what it is.
Yeah.
Which is a good point, and I totally agree.
That says a lot. The bar for Marvel is significantly higher than the bar for DC.
Right.
Wonder Woman was an excellent film with one of my favorite scenes of all time. A lot of third act problems.
Yeah.
A lot of third act problems. But it's the best of the new DC movies by and far.
Yeah.
Thor Ragnarok just came out and was stellar, but it's stellar in a long line of Marvel movies. Like we did a top 10 list, Parker and I, and for me it was I think my number 9.
Wow.
And I loved the movie. So
Right.
it's, not coming off as like a Marvel fanboy because I want these DC movies to be good, but I am
How many movies do they have out now? 15, 16?
total
Marvel?
Marvel 17.
Of the
17.
since Iron Man 1.
17.
Okay. Yeah, that's probably about where it would end up with me. It'd be like around mid.
Yeah.
So.
It's fun to do the list. We had a good time doing it. So that's our Justice League thoughts.
Yep.
You're going to go see it. I'm going to go see it again.
I
You're
will
going to go see it again.
I will probably see it again.
Because
I will probably go on like $5 day, like half price ticket day.
Yeah,
but
I'm
I will
going
go
to
see it
the
again.
earliest matinee at Take Parker. But I'm cautiously optimistic of where DC is going. You feel awful for what happened to Zack Snyder.
Oh,
and,
yeah.
and having to step away.
Oh, yeah.
It could be the best thing for Warner Brothers right now. And I'm hoping that Patty Jenkins is going to be the person to take the reins forward.
That'd be great.
And lead us into what should be a pretty bright future. Anything else from you?
No, that's
Hey,
about it.
if you're watching it this week, Pittsburgh, support your local comic shop at New Dimension Comics. They have tons of variants, tons of things that you can't find anywhere else. Make sure that you stop on in.
This Saturday, local comic shop day.
And then they're going to be at Uniontown Mall.
December 17th
December
for Uniontown
17th.
Comic-Con.
And that's going to be a lot of fun. It's the week before Christmas. You can get all of your stuff. And the stores are doing 50 cent, it's
50
half off
cent
the dollars.
Half off dollar books from Black Friday till Christmas.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So that's
you
going
have
to
like
be
a month to just catch up on tons of stuff. There are some newer things in there, so if you are cautiously optimistic or inquisitive about some of the Rebirth stuff, some of the Marvel Now, some of the Legacy stuff. Legacy won't be in there, but there are some stuff that led into Legacy that will be. So go and check that out. Or if you're like, you know what, I don't like any of this stuff, I want to read all the old stuff, you're going to get it cheap.
I'm telling
for
you.
a month. That's crazy. Go shop at the stores.
Head on out there, New Dimension Comics. They're all over the place. Check them out on Facebook. And, of course, like, share, and subscribe. Ready, Set, Geek. I hope that you enjoy the movie. Hopefully you give it a better score than we did. I want to hear from you guys what you think. Are we just hateful Marvel fanboys, or did we nail it? Because we nailed it. John, thank you so much. And I will see you guys next week. Shawarma!